Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Serious Strategy Gamer, and we are returning to Command Modern Operations, where we are wargaming a war between Ukraine and Russia. We are going to be playing as NATO, and last time around I did show you all of our assets, so let's see how this game is actually going to play out. Now, before we're going to start the play button here, I would like to point out a couple of the missions that I have set up in between episodes just to get the ball rolling. And for now, we are not in a shooting war against Russia. We think that might very well happen in the near future, but for now, our orders are actually to hold tight and not engage them. Even if Ukraine is going to be attacked, NATO is not going to intervene right now. And I think that's quite a normal way to go about that, because as the local NATO commander, we do not have authority to engage a nuclear superpower, or nuclear power at least, just like that. So let's see how this is going to turn out. I want to talk a little bit about the missions that I have set up. So let's go into the mission editor, let's look at them. Mostly they are support missions. So we've got, for one thing, we've got an airborne early warning system. So we are going to have a couple of 737s, wedge tails, basically intelligence aircraft that are going to be patrolling over Turkey. I've also set up a similar mission over Romania. In fact, I think the game had already set that up, and there's going to be a couple of sentries. So this is going to be our forward eyes to what's going to happen in Turkey. We're going to see whether that's going to be enough, whether we need to move it closer. I do want to keep some distance here because these are valuable aircraft that are basically defenseless. So yeah, let's hope that these guys are going to be alright. Can we actually click on? Yeah, you can see it's a large and cumbersome aircraft, but it does have the big radar dish on the back there. We also got a maritime patrol that's somewhat similar, but you can see that these aircraft are a little bit different. So they are more based on ground surveillance and finding enemy ships. So they're going to be patrolling just off Ankara here, and hopefully so it's just off the Strait of the Bosporus, and just hoping to see what ships they might have in this vicinity. Let's see. Other than that, we've got a couple of tankers set up, so these are not strictly necessary, and I would normally only send out tankers when I do conduct a strike mission, but we don't know how this war is going to develop soon, and I think it might be good to have these pre-positioned. Tankers are a little bit slower than fighter planes, so it might make sense to have them somewhat forward based so that we can rely on that infrastructure whenever we need it. Yes, if we do not need it, it will burn fuel in the air, but I think it might make sense to be prudent. So we've got one of these missions down here and another one over Romania, so just up there. And then lastly, we do have 3 combat air patrols. So these are fighter aircrafts that are going to patrol over various places. One of them is going to be off in northern Turkey here. So they're going to be patrolling in this little spot down here. But they aren't going to engage any aircraft that comes within this triangle here. Let's see. I don't know whether that's going to be relevant, but we do want to protect Turkey here. At least somewhat. So we don't want to have some guys over here that can engage. We also have another little aircraft, another little flight here set up, just F-16 Falcons from, I think, I don't know which aircraft, which unit that was. I think you are the Romanian Air Force. Now these guys are going to patrol here because we heard in our briefing that this naval base here might be subject to attack by Russian forces, if anything. I don't know, but we're going to have 6 aircraft here that are going to be patrolling that, as you can tell. Down here, I have told them to have basically 1/3 of these aircrafts over target at all times, and 1/3 of them is going to be maintained, 1/3 of them is going to be in transition, and so on. So hopefully there should be 2 aircraft over here just for protection at any one time. The reason why I picked these guys is because they only have Sidewinders, so very short-range missiles, and this is not exactly frontline, I want to call it, so it's a little bit more, well, defensive loadout, let's call it like that. And then we've got Izmir down here. This is another headquarter that was mentioned in the mission briefing. So likewise, we're going to send a couple of aircraft here just to have someone over this area at all times, because it might be attacked. And I'm thinking that it might very well be attacked by ballistic missiles of the Russians at one point. Not sure whether that's going to be right away, but again, we're going to have 1 aircraft here over them at any time. And these guys I did choose because they have the AIM-120, yeah, so that's a much better missile, but they only have the B variant. And the B variant is has a somewhat lower range than the C variant, and so yeah, let's keep them a little bit here to the rear. As one last area that I would like to protect, that's Naples down here. But I think this is so far away that I can hopefully scramble anything if it does come to a fight down there. Now, that being said, that is basically the setup in terms of standing missions that we want to take in the beginning of this game. Now, there are a couple of other things, and that is I would like to send a couple of fighters over Ukraine. Not right over the front, but let's say somewhat over the center line here, so maybe around Cherkasy. These are not going to be offensive fighters. They're not going to attack anything down here. And most of our planes are actually strike packages against potentially offensive operations, or at least, ground targets. But I want to have at least a little bit of a defensive curtain over there. It doesn't need to be much, but it needs to be at least a little bit. So what I would propose is let's grab, let's say, 4 of these guys, these Gripen aircraft. And the reason I'm picking these is pretty much because they're somewhat close. They do only have the AIM-120B with the lower range, but we're going to launch these guys as a group. And they're going to be under our manual control, and we're going to send them somewhere over there. And then I would also like to take some of these Americans. Now, we've got a lot of planes down here. Couple of tankers, couple of F-16s, Block 16. These are pretty good aircraft, aren't they? Yeah, but you can see they all got the HARM missiles, so these are all anti-ground missiles. I don't want to use these guys. There are a couple of pure fighter loadouts here, but it's not necessary. I think they might be, they might be very good in trying to escort all of these guys down here. Although that being said, all of these guys do carry anti-air missiles on their own, so maybe we don't actually need to have such a defensive loadout here. So you know what? Let's launch another group of 4 aircraft here. These guys, what's their range actually on these D variants here? So remember the other ones had a range of 40. These have 75 nautical miles. So yeah, we're going to take these guys. And then very lastly, I want to take a couple of more modern planes. Now maybe not the Raptors. Although I do like my Raptors. I'm a big fan of the Raptor. It's just a very nice aircraft, and it's a shame that that has been replaced by the F-35. But speaking of the F-35, you know what? Let's launch one of these planes. Simply so that we have got one stealth aircraft. And with that, we are going to finally hit the button here and start the game. Okay, so here are already a couple of updates that we are receiving, a couple of contact changes. Let's briefly pause that just in the beginning over here. So we've got 2 skunks down here. So these are Russian ships that are kind of close to us. And I guess I should mention a couple of things about our ships here in a second. So we've got various ships here, but most of them are not that great. We've got the Type 45 here. This is a British ship. This is a very good British ship, I might mention. Then we've got an Oliver Perry older type of ship that's, I think, in the Turkish Navy. But the only other real ship that we've got over here is this Erle class. And then these Romanians down here, I'm very sorry to say, but these guys are just, you know what? Look at this guy, right? So what weapons does he have? 20mm, 30mm. I think this is actually the flagship. I had to look this up. This is, I think, the flagship of the Romanian army. And it doesn't have any missiles, for now at least, not in this scenario. This guy does have a couple of missiles, but the only anti-air missiles that I can see that he could use to defend himself against air attack are these guys, the SAN-5. Look at the range, 2 nautical miles. That's nothing. Look at the hit probability, 35%. Again, that's basically nothing. And you can't even attack missiles, so this is not good. This is not good. These guys do need to move up and at least move up with the Erle class to gain some level of protection, or we need to provide an overhead level of protection at any time. Which is going to work fine. We are going to have some aircraft down here, but again, they're going to only have the sidewinders, so I'm not too sold on that. Let's accelerate time here at least somewhat, so that we can get a feeling of what's going on. And you can see a couple of these things blinking here. Looks like a bug, but it isn't. It's simply the radar dishes that are turning around, and that means we don't have perfect information of these, and every second or so we are losing actual sight of that. Of course, in the grand scheme of things, that's not important operationally, but it can be important once you have certain smaller stuff that's happening when basically missiles are engaging each other. There we go. That's a lot of planes that are suddenly launching. So let's take a look at what's going on here. We've got a couple of planes that I think are just going to this airfield over here, and I'm just realizing, let's switch to group view. So we've got our first flight here of some Turkish F-16s, which are going to be patrolling there. That's fine. We've got this flight over here of the Gripens. Let's just send these guys up over here into Ukraine. We've also got these guys down here, these F-15s. Let's do send them up. And lastly, the F-35. That can be maybe a little bit more forward because this guy should not be too concerned. Right now, he doesn't emit anything, so the radar's basically off. So that means he should be relatively difficult to find, and that's good. Lots of planes starting from various air bases. You can see, for example, these guys down here are now going to launch and are going to be on the maritime patrol mission. That's fine. And not more context here. We'll need to check on these guys. But yeah, let's actually check your sensors. Okay, so you are already emitting things. That's good. We can, of course, look at the range of our air sensors, but it tends to clutter the view, I think. So I kind of like to toggle that off. Now let's look at these ships. We've got two ships here that we know are Russian. So these guys are basically shadowing us and trying to find out what we're doing. But they're not a warship per se. So they don't have, I think, any weaponry worth speaking of. Well, they could target a couple of things, but for now they're not that relevant. There's another ship down here, which very well could be nothing, and I'm guessing you're going to be picked up by this radar dish here. So let's see. I don't think we need to be too concerned here. By the way, let's look at the. So it's completely clear skies. That's fine. So you know what? We're going to do an overflight of this ship just to find out whether it's Russian or neutral. I'm guessing it could be just neutral maritime traffic, but there we go. There is our first aircraft that we're spotting. This one is quickly rising. It is traveling at 480 knots, so that might mean could be a passenger liner going down here. Could be any combat aircraft. We know that the Russians do have around 300 planes actually in this. Now I think the briefing said they had 300 Air Force planes, and additionally some. I also have one more down here. And also some. Yeah, this U2. I want to use the U2. The U2 is fun. Where was I? Yeah, they had 300 aircraft. What are you guys? You're Sentinel, but you're not assigned to anything. Okay, let's bring you guys up here as well. And you can actually use your sensors. I'm going to be fine with that. So let's have you fly over there, and let's actually look at the U2 because I'm not too familiar with the U2 honestly. So what's your sensor platform actually? So you do have active radar, surface search. You do have an optical camera with a range of 80 miles. That's great. You know what? I think we're going to run you passively. So you're not going to be emitting anything, but we are going to have you fly over towards Crimea and down there. Yeah, so you guys are going to go your merry ways. You guys are going to go over there. You guys are a couple of tankers, I suppose. Yeah, that's all good. You know, the early airborne warning. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so things are trotting along here. Everything seems peaceful for now, but I do like that we're going to get some further information here. Oh, there's another ship here. Do we know much about you? Oh, yes, we do. So we have already. Jesus, look at these missile launchers. These are huge, and that's typical of the Russians. The Russians do carry huge, and I mean tremendously gigantic anti-shipping weapons. Much larger than what the West usually does. So you seem to be somewhat modern, at least in some of your sensor suit. Do we know anything about your weaponry? Geckos. Okay, your anti-air stuff doesn't look too fancy. Oh, well, I say that. No, but yeah, these are the anti-shipping missiles. And you can see they are 5,000 kilograms, basically. Range of 400 miles. These are big. These are really seriously big. 4,800 kilograms. Let's compare that to one of our anti-shipping missiles. Let's say the Harpoon, so the standard one. 500 kilograms. That's just like a ninth or so of what's going on here. We've got another one that could be... No, it's pretty much sure that it's going to be this ship. 1995. It's not vintage. It is there. Now these guys could be engaged with our ships. I don't know whether we should want that. But not for now. Not for now. Oh, and we also know something about this ship now. It's another intelligence gathering ship, and this one does seem to have at least some armament. Okay, Gremlins, 30 millimeters. These Gremlins have a range of 3 miles. We need to be mindful about these. They don't have good stuff, but they have enough stuff to basically find out what we have in the air if they're deployed so forward. That being said, you guys can go back to your patrol, because I do not actually want to get closer to these guys now. Now, that being said, these two guys we could engage easily by the ships that are close anyway, so we don't need to be too concerned there. I'm thinking that we could either get closer to these guys, or more likely I would potentially try to grab one of these planes that we have stationed here, because I think some of you guys... AGM-84, are you an anti-shipping missile? Standoff land extended range, no. Well, you could potentially be used, but I don't want you to be used against shipping. Could we actually use you guys here against enemy surface vessels? Is the MK, no, you can only target submarines. Fine, I suppose. Slammers. I don't want to use slammers. How about the M90? MU-90? Only submarines? Fine, fine, fine. We're going to pick something more appropriate for that task. So I just want to have someone around there to potentially attack. And excuse me about that. So let's see about that. Spice. Spice was a bomb, basically a freefall bomb that can hit surf ships. You know what? We're going to launch one of these guys individually, and you're going to be flying over here and keeping an eye on these guys, and just be ready to attack them just in case something happens. We know now that this plane that we have been observing earlier is an Su-24 Fencer, so that's, I think, in signal intelligence. Yeah, it's a recon craft. Further shipping up here, which if it is emitting any active radar pulses, we can be pretty sure that's a warship. Yeah, it seems like most of the Russian fleet is in this vicinity somewhere. You can see that we don't exactly know where they are. There are certain uncertainties here in our detection, and they're somewhere within this box. More we can't really say, but that is already important information. Right, shouldn't we see that aircraft launching soon? I think I did send it off. It's always a couple of minutes, of course, that does take, just to get ready and to sort of get airborne, but yeah, we should see it soon. Just a couple of tankers here arriving, a couple of tankers from Rammstein making their way over here. All of that's fine. You guys are coming up there, and we should keep an eye on your range actually. So your range is not that great, only 400 miles or so. So since we would like you to stay a little bit in the area, let's set you to loitering speed. That means your range in your physical range, your distance is going to decrease, but you're going to stay in the air for a much longer time. So hopefully that's going to be alright. But I didn't know that the Gripen did have such problems in staying in the air for extended amounts of time. Where's that aircraft that I did launch? I did launch it, didn't I? Wasn't that from over here? I would have thought that it was. Well, I don't remember. It's gonna be fine. We can of course just launch one of these. No, not the Raptors. The Raptors are stealth aircraft. We want to use them for an attack somewhere else, I suppose. Jasons, Harms, Mavericks. We could use Mavericks against these guys. It's anti-tank weapons, but doesn't matter too much. Huge. I've such an abundance of planes that it sometimes feels a little bit difficult to make a choice which one we should actually pick to actually engage potentially. You don't have that much that's around here, but do we need it? I guess we do need it. But I would really like to use some second rate stuff to get there, because really there's no point in getting any closer than that. Did we determine the spies here? Yeah. I think it's fine. It's a 1,000 kilo bomb. You're carrying 2 of these. I think that should be okay. Let's launch one of these. I think I misclicked maybe also. You guys have spotted that. You'll have spotted that. I didn't. But there we go. Okay, more ships over here, and the speed at which they're traveling seems to indicate to me that this might be merchantmen. This one at least. There we go. That is another plane launch. That's you, Ghost. You can be right over here, ready to engage these guys. Just in case the need arises. Oh, look at this. Wait a minute. We need to pause here. So let's look at the situation, how it has developed. You guys are coming over here. You know what? Can we actually creep with you? Be a little bit slower because I would like to engage this ship if possible. There's a lot of ships coming down here towards this British ship, which I dislike. But yeah, there we go. We've got this ship down here. These guys are somewhat around here, which is fine, I suppose, but we'll need to keep an eye on that. That being said, there's another ship over here, 5 knots. 5 knots, more typical of a trader or a merchantman. So I'm not too concerned about these ships, although it's slightly odd that they are so close together. This one and this one, 25 and 34 knots, that's a little bit more aggressive. We've got the Su-24 here. We've got another ship over here, which is a military ship. We know that much. So presumably, probably, potentially hostile. But what's more important is that we are seeing more planes over here. And we are specifically seeing Su-35s. 2014 version, that's not bad. 160-mile range. These are good planes. They are. They are probably going to carry things like this, like the AA-12. They're probably going to carry AA-11s and AA-12s if they are in the fighter configuration. They have a range of 60 miles. Remember, that's somewhat comparable to us, although slightly worse than the early versions. And the AA-20, this guy, are you active or are you semi-active? You seem to be active. So that means these guys don't need to paint the target with the entire plane all the time, which is bad for us. Oh, look at that. The Gripens are already returning, so that tells you something about the range of these Gripens. They are basically we'll need to have these guys refuel at any time. Well, that's disappointing. It's a good thing that we have these other guys here, but at this point we only have basically five planes in Ukrainian airspace, and just about that. So maybe we need to beef that up a little bit. You know what? We're going to see. We're going to have one flight of our planes in here. All of these guys here within F. These are not ours. So let's see. But let's get closer to these guys, because I want to investigate what's up with these flankers. Let's also take a look here at our air sensor range. Yeah. we currently don't really have the air sensor range, so I'm going to fly these guys into Ukraine a little bit more. Because I want to find out what's happening. They're going to return after that to their usual designations, but I think that's still going to be alright. Another ship down there, and these Russian aircraft are now really over Ukrainian positions, and you can see them scuffling it out there. So they have a couple of Ukrainian flankers, Su-27s, against these Su-35s. And here we go. So the Russians are attacking along the frontier with Ukraine. They don't seem to be engaging NATO targets. What are your orders? Now, ooh, there we go, yeah. Haha, they immediately destroyed both of these planes. Now, here's the thing. What can we do in this situation, and what should we do? Of course, you know, the impulse is to go all in, guns blazing, but that's not quite how this is supposed to work. So let's dial down on the acceleration of time over here, and let's look at what's going on. So there are a lot of missiles being launched immediately by these flankers, but we do not have authorization to engage the enemy right away. And that's a bit of a problem. There are missiles being launched. These are, I think, anti-air missiles that are being launched against these flankers. I don't know what they're doing there at the moment, but yeah, this SAM installation, this Ukrainian SAM installation, at least seems to engage the Russian aircraft that are flying overhead. But so far, this is not an active shooting war for NATO. So let's see. Oh, nice. They did shoot down one of these guys. Not sure what happened to the other one there, but let's see. It's also got one of their airborne early warning. I don't know why I sometimes cannot say that. That would be a high value target. If we could snipe that, well, that would be great. And I think we do have our F-35 here in this vicinity, so let's bring that forward a little bit. I want to see whether we can do anything with that. And man, these Gripens. Just immediately you can scramble, you can get up, and then you can fight, and then you need to land again. But you do not have any staying power there for any amount of time. Right, you know what? Let's try to get to these guys. They're running relatively slow, so maybe if we can go to cruise speed, we can maybe get to them at some point with our submarine and get into their midst or something. We don't know. Might be. We can see some of the Russian radar installations. There's a big one over here. And there were also some, I think, over here. Look at that. It's just gigantic one. And they're also starting to jam with their aircraft. But that's not an act of war. It might be a very hostile action, but it's not an act of war yet. Okay, you guys are doing the area surveillance. Let's bring you a little bit more over here. You know what? I want to find out what these targets are. Maybe we're going to find out a little bit about that with these aircraft. Man, this is so tense. I don't know what's happening over here. I know that there is a shooting war going on between Ukraine and Russia, but what does that mean for us? NATO AWACS, let's bring you a little bit more like there. A couple of tankers coming in from Ramstein. We also have, of course, all of these planes that are based in like Gibraltar, in England. They're not coming over yet. They're mostly strike aircraft. And I don't want to see, I don't want to bring them forward unless we have any clear indication of what's going to be going on. We also have a couple of Navy teams that are in this area here. More planes too. Another one has started, and you can see it climbing up here in altitude. Su-24 MP, sorry. So another recon alien aircraft. Lots of SAM installations down there. More planes over here, and that's 2 planes, so that does tell us that's probably very, very typical for a fighter formation to be running in 2 planes. But yeah. More Ukrainian planes scrambling, that's fine. You guys are moving forward, that's cool. You do have a little bit more staying power here until bingo fuel. 2 hours or so. At this point you can maybe go to loitering so that your time on mission becomes a little bit higher as well. Yeah, we know about all of these contacts there. Another ship there, and we have more information on these targets here now. So there are two groups of pretty much identified Russian ships. One of them sailing towards the southeast, one of them sailing towards the northwest here. Ooh, you might be going for Odessa. Okay. What's going on now? A sentry has detected a missile. A missile right over here. Now what does that mean? Well, firstly, let's check where it's going. We don't have much information about that. In fact, we've lost track of it almost immediately. So we did probably see the launch plume there on IR or something. It seems to be traveling towards the north. I think it's going towards one of these ships here. Now these are Ukrainian ships, so still not NATO ships. But we'll need to keep a very close eye on that, because if they are engaging us, then I do consider it a shooting war. Some further engagements up there along the border. But I can't see too many Russian planes for now. It's only these big ones that we can see. And there's one missile down there, which we really... notice that the ships down there are starting to jam. But yeah, I have a very bad feeling for this Ukrainian frigate here. It seems to be engaged. Oh, and look at that. Now, this down here is more substantial. This is a lot of planes coming in for this cluster here. So, if that's the case, let's do see whether we can protect them to some degree. There's another missile being launched at a target, potentially at this one. It's an AA-10. What's your range? 80 miles. Ooh, that's pretty good. But you are semi-active, so that means the target will need to be illuminated the entire time by another radar dish other than the plane itself. Right. Didn't we send someone over here to deal with this potentially? You're the area surveillance. You've got 2 tankers. Yeah, EU. Okay. Goes 7. Let's get you a little bit closer towards here. Right, and look at that. There's another big cluster of enemy planes there. So, you know what? That does mean that we should think about what's going on here. Yeah, these Gripens, you are returning to base, that's fine. We do have more aircraft somewhere. Yeah, these are more Gripens, so no point sending them forward if they don't really have the staying power there. We could, of course, fuel them up, but I don't really like that idea for now. So let's keep them a little bit in reserve, and let's just launch another group of 4 F-15s. Do we have more F-16s or something that we could launch at them? Raptors? Well, Raptors with bombs. That's always such a weird layout. Why would you be using the best fighter in the world in a bomber role? I don't get that. Okay, let's launch 6 more aircrafts in total. 4 from this base, 2 from this. And keep an eye on what's going on. We know that this guy over there is a fighter and he's coming in. What are you doing? You're on a loitering speed, so you're probably over your mission area already. Very intriguing. But look at what's happening here. We've got one massive flight of at least, I want to call that 10 aircraft at the very least. 4 up there, 8, 10, 12 aircraft coming down towards this cluster. And somewhat, probably a similar amount down there. Probably the radar installation doesn't really manage to separate between all of these different targets. So let's see. Well, this is our F-35. Really intrigued about what's going on down here and whether or not these ships are going to be hit by a missile there. This is absolutely an active shooting war between this Ukraine and what's this? Oh, mobile installation. Between Ukraine and Russia. It is not, however, a shooting war including us quite yet. It could very well turn into that right very soon, though. Intrigued about this fighter here. What is he doing? What is he trying to intercept? Where is he going? It's such a dynamic situation. So many things to keep an eye on. But so far, everything seems to be in order. Well, as much in order as it can be. Notice how we are losing track of these guys down here. Do we know anything about your altitude, by the way? Yeah, I think you're not coming in at maximum altitude. 26,000 feet? That's a weird one. Oh, there we go. Do you see that? There were a couple of bomb attacks there. I'm going to dial down on that because if one of these aircrafts is over there, then probably all of them are. But yeah, there you can see bomb attacks against all of these mechanized targets. Anti-air missiles being launched, but I don't know just how much they're going to do. You're the U2. You are going in at maximum altitude. That's cool. You know what? Let's send you in a little bit more like that. I want to check out these ships. Yeah, lots of engagements down there. And we've got these Eagles. They are in striking range. Well, nearly 80 miles. You've got a range of what? 75 miles. Now that's the kinematic range. So if we are launching at max range, they have a chance of running out of that range in the time they would take these missiles to basically arrive. So I'm not sure. I mean, so far we have absolutely no authorization to launch. So that is a bit concerning. I'm also a little bit concerned about this here. So let's move our patrol area here a little bit further to the west, simply to stay a little bit clear of this ship because it does have primitive anti-shipping capabilities, but it does have them. So I want to keep an eye on that. Notice this guy down here. Whoa, 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 whoa. This down here. What does this mean? This means that there is a missile that has been launched by this installation in a southeasterly direction. I'm very much thinking it's probably aimed at this recon, although to me it doesn't quite seem to match up with the track. But it has been launched in our direction, and it is marked as hostile because it is taking hostile action against us. So I am quite intrigued as to what that means. But you know what? We are nearing the 40-minute mark, and with this first shot potentially having been fired against us, I think it is time to call it a day. So, not much happening here, but I think it is important to notice just, oh Jesus, look at that. There's another third attack of 2 more attacks here coming in the north that we completely missed. Look at how many aircraft the Russians have streaming in towards the poor Ukrainians down there. They're going to completely hamper them. And basically, notice that we haven't seen anything from Belarus yet. I'm not sure whether they're going to be involved, but they might very well be. Now that being said, for now, thank you very much for watching. Do let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and I hope to see you around next time. Bye bye, guys.